Ted Bundy is the most renowned serial killer in American history. He even took his own life after the execution happened. His story kept people from hanging on for years into the past. He was born in 1946, and he had every trap of icing of a bright, charming man, so that his dark side was all the more shocking. He lived a life of duality as an educated lawyer and politician, but conducted a dark inner life of misogyny with a desire to dominate and kill women. His good looks and charisma entitled him to the privilege of earning the victim's trust. Bundy was often seen confronting women publicly, playing the crippled man, locked to a cast or cruise. He smiled innocently as he asked them to help him with his books or carry something to his car. Once the women were close, he knocked them unconscious, abducted them, later brutally assaulted, then murdered them. It is said that Bundy's killing spree started way back in the early 1970s. Bundy hopped across various states: Washington, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. This made very confusing for the authorities to try and make things piece together because of his frequent movements. His victims were mostly young, college-age females, whose long, dark hair was parted in the center. This further heightened the fright as women in these regions were notified of a serial killer on the loose. Actually, one of the most publicized escapes of his occurred in 1977, when Bundy was an inmate in a Colorado jail. While getting ready to hear before a judge, he managed to jump from the second-story courthouse window to escape. Bundy went into hiding for 6 days before he was caught again. However, that was not the last try that the killer did make. It was in December of that same year that he broke away once again, this time from jail at Glenwood Springs, by crawling out through a hole in the ceiling of his cell. It was one of his most savage attacks. In January 1978, Bundy moved to Florida and broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In the dead of night, he viciously attacked 4 women, killing 2 and almost killing the others. This was considered one of the most gruesome moments in Bundy's killing sprees and even shook the nation. Within weeks of the date, he kidnapped and murdered a 12-year-old girl known as Kimberly Leach. Sealed his fate. It was in the year 1978 when Bundy was finally caught by police as he was being pulled over whilst they were in pursuit of a stolen automobile. It was one of the very first trials to be telecast across the entire nation, and Bundy represented himself in the court, using knowledge about the law to wriggle his way through court to get around it. He had put on such an arrogant and overconfident posture that a cult of women turned out to be attracted to him while he was still under trial for committing some of the most atrocious murders imaginable. Bundy was sentenced to 3 death penalties and spent 9 years on the death row. In a last interview with him, before he was put to death in 1989, Bundy finally confessed to over 30 murders, though many believe that the number of murders he committed is much higher. What makes Bundy one of the most terrible figures in criminal history is the skill to veer cruelty under the veneer of charm and intelligence. A better example of this is with the case of Ted Bundy. There are so many questions on the nature of evil and how one who seemed so normal in life could really commit such heinous crimes. His legacy forms a subject of many documentaries, books, and films, reminding people of this reality of a chilling end, that these predators could reach societies with no trace of their approach.